My mom cut me off for being homophobic and disruptive in my brother's wedding, and I'm glad she did it. Last week, my older brother Rick and one of my best friends, Hannah, got married. I was the maid of honor since I knew both the bride and groom, and I was the one who introduced them. Besides taking care of the bride, I also helped her invite Rick's and my side of the family, as she only knew our immediate family and a couple of cousins. So, I made sure to invite all of our relatives, which amounted to around 30 people, and reminded them to RSVP. Because of this, I knew who was coming and who wasn't. As the ceremony was about to start, all of my relatives had arrived except for one person, my other older brother and the middle child, Jeremy. I called Jeremy multiple times, but he didn't answer. I informed Rick and my parents about the situation. Rick assured me it was fine and that we could continue with the plan. However, my mom seemed oddly excited and cryptically told me to wait for it. Despite all of that, we proceeded with the plan, and the ceremony ran smoothly. The reception followed, and that's when Jenny, formerly known as Jeremy, unexpectedly burst into the wedding with a broad smile and highly inappropriate wedding attire. Jenny wore a beige-colored modified wedding dress with a sheer top, revealing their torso. The dress is a puffy princess gown, featuring a long, torn-looking train with bright purple and black paint splatters. To top it off, they had applied elaborate makeup. I was initially shocked and then horrified by their appearance. Although they technically didn't do anything yet, the attention shifted from the wedding to them. Mom stood up from her seat, embraced Jenny, and loudly expressed how proud she was. Despite Jenny's attempts to gracefully lead Mom back to the table, the damage was done. I exchanged a worried glance with Hannah, who seemed on the brink of tears. I decided to address the issue and pulled Jenny aside for a confrontation. We argued about their inappropriate behavior, while they defended it as a form of self-expression. Mid-argument, one of the groomsmen, also Hannah's older brother, intervened with security personnel and instructed Jenny to change into more suitable attire or leave immediately. Jenny protested, calling us homophobic and other nasty names. The security team escorted them out, and I returned to my table. Mom noticed my return and asked me about Jenny. I explained that Jenny had been asked to leave due to their refusal to change into appropriate clothing. In response, my mom hurled hurtful words at me, labeling me as a homophobic bitch and saying "you are dead" to me before leaving. She later returned with Jenny wearing a more simple dress about an hour later. Now, let me explain why I'm relieved that she cut ties with me. I've been raised in a conservative, traditional, Christian family. My parents, especially my mom, are very sensitive to changes and new ideas. Jenny has always been the golden child. They were born premature and weren't breathing. They had to be resuscitated and kept at the hospital for months. Jenny is frail, and my mom always said that the fact that they are still alive is a miracle. Mom always pays attention to Jenny because of their poor health. Jenny became accustomed to the constant attention and disliked being out of it. When I was born, Jenny threw tantrums daily and even exhibited dangerous behaviors, throwing hard toys at me. This prompted my parents to entrust my care to my grandparents for my safety. The deal was my aunt would take care of Rick and Jenny on the weekends, and my parents would stay with my grandparents to take care of me. The idea is so that I still have an attachment to my parents. It worked for 3 weeks, then Jenny started throwing more tantrums because Mom is not home and hurting my aunts by biting or pulling her hair. Furthermore, Jenny got a high fever because of too much crying and refusal to eat without Mom, so, after only a month, my mom gave up the idea and stopped visiting me. My dad stuck to the plan and brought Rick with him most of the time. By the way, this is also why my mom had her tubes tied, although it is against her beliefs. I returned to our home when I was 5. At that point, I didn't have any relationship with Mom and Jenny, but we managed. Jenny is very close with Mom, and Mom always took their side. They would snitch to Mom when Rick and I did something bad or blame us for something they did. Rick moved out at 18 because of this. Rick and Jenny shared a room when Rick was a high schooler and Jenny was in middle school. Rick had a secret girlfriend, and Jenny found out because they went through Rick's backpack and found a love letter given by the girlfriend. Mom always told us to not date, so when Jenny tattled to her, she was pissed. Mom forced Rick to break up with his then girlfriend, which he reluctantly does so. The next year, Jenny becomes a freshman in the same high school where Rick is a senior. Jenny immediately got a girlfriend. Mom was excited about it, telling Jenny to bring her often. Every time Jenny's girlfriend came to visit, Rick would come to my room because Jenny would tell him off. One day, Mom was cleaning Rick's and Jenny's room and found a ripped rubber wrapper. Although it is obvious who uses it, Mom immediately blames Rick, even though Rick doesn't have a girlfriend nor brings a girl home. He was grounded for the rest of his senior year and barred from going to prom. Their relationship was hostile from then on out until he moved out after graduation. When I was 15, I realized that I am a lesbian. Due to my family upbringing, I kept it a secret and only told Rick. Unfortunately, Jenny discovered this somehow and threatened to reveal it to Mom unless I became their personal servant. I agreed. I would do everything for them, their homework and projects, clean after them when Mom was not home, give them part of my allowance, etc. But, when Dad went on a business trip for 2 months and was not home to defend me, Jenny told Mom, and Mom kicked me to the curb, saying I needed to pray to God and clean my sinful thinking. I called Rick and he picked me up, allowing me to stay with him. When my dad went home, he was furious at Mom and demanded she apologize to me. Mom refuses, but Dad threatens he will divorce her if she does not yield. In the end, she comes to Rick's apartment, begging me to come home. Things seemed to go back to normal, but when we fought, sometimes mom would bring this up and state my shameful way of living almost cost her marriage. I moved out as soon as I could support myself financially. Anyway, I wanted to cut her off, but I love my dad and want to visit him as much as I can. Furthermore, I don't want to be seen as the ungrateful daughter by other relatives, so I kept the relationship with minimal contact. However, now that she cuts me off first, I don't have to deal with that witch anymore. It's ironic she labeled me as homophobic despite her own rejection of me when discovering my sexuality. I'm more than happy to be free from her toxicity.